start to another week, and we're gonna go get some more stuff for the farm. And we are just on our way home. We got our new purchase hooked up to the back of the semi here. Still not 100% sure what we're going to use it for, but I will definitely show you guys it when we get back to the yard. And we got our brand new tanker home here. Well, not brand new, new to us. As you can see, there's some dents. We're going to look at some of the other dents that are a little worse on the other side there too. But yep, so this is what we got from the auction here. Holds just over 10,000 gallons. So it's got a lot of capacity on it. I'm not 100% sure what we're going to be using it for yet. I'm almost thinking maybe diesel, because we're always trying to get a little more diesel for the pivots and trying to find somewhere to store it. But yeah, it's going to do the job for us. It doesn't need to be perfect. So yeah, you can see there is some pretty large dents on here. I think it actually got rolled or something. I'm not sure. It originally came from Canada. But yeah, it's got some little bumps and bruises all over it. But it'll still hold liquid and it doesn't leak, so should work pretty nice. Next job on today's docket, doing a little bit of spraying. And when I say a little bit, I mean literally just a tiny little teeny bit of spraying. You'll see it when we get out there. I didn't talk about this in last week's video, but we did talk about it a little bit during the live stream on Sunday. But we've got our little test plot out here. So the soil scientist from MSU Bozeman took a bunch of little soil samples as well, because they're looking for nematodes out in our field here. Nematodes are a little teeny tiny microscopic worm, and they hurt our yields, and it's kind of weird because they're not everywhere in Montana. So it was sort of odd to have them here. And this is actually kind of the only place we really have an issue with them, is down on the pivots, which is great because it's on our irrigated stuff. So yeah, we're hoping they'll be able to figure out something on those nematodes, and hopefully we'll be able to get rid of them then. Heading back down to the river bottom to work on our drinking water again. But I actually was chatting with the neighbor, and this is sorghum that they actually planted here. It's the first time I've ever seen sorghum in real life. And they're planning not to cut it or bale it or anything, but they're just gonna run their cows out here in it this winter and use it as feed, and then just kind of graze it. Looking like fall down on the river bottom here. But what we're working on today on our drinking water again is our little aeration tube. Keeps kind of getting sucked to the side there, so I brought a fence post, and we're actually going to put a little fence post out in the river there just to kind of hold this thing straight out there. So hopefully that'll work. We'll see if we can get it working. So after I hopped out in the river there and started looking at this thing, found an issue. The end of our aerator tube's actually kind of fallen off, so I got to run back up to the house now, grab some more screws, get this thing fixed. We are back down at the river. Kind of one of the issues we have living out here is it's a long ways to go to get things. So it took me just over a half an hour just to run and grab a couple screws and a driver here. So it's going to be nice. The boss is actually going to be coming back this week, so it'll be good to have him back. Just save us a little time getting all these projects done. We got our end cap all secured back on there now, so the next job is going to be throwing that post in the river. Our back flush pump is a cruising along here again now. Little bit of junk coming out of that well, but nothing too bad yet. Hopefully this thing just keeps on working. It's a little bit of extra work keeping all this stuff going here, but it is a lot better than hauling water like some of the people around here have to do that aren't very close to the river. So on our list of random odd jobs we got to get done, gonna unhook the header off of the swather here. That way we can kind of start getting this thing all ready for winter. Just starting off our unhooking process here. First off, we got to start it, and we're gonna lift it all the way up. We have the header all the way up in the air, so we got to pull out these little pins, one right here and then one right here on both sides of the header. And this is just the float kind of lock, and then this one's just actually to keep your header attached to the swather. Then we also got to just flip this little guy upside down. That kind of what sits on the ground for it. Outside the cab, standing on the header here, just got to unhook this thing. We're going to lift that up out of the way. Then we should be all unhooked except for all the hydraulic hoses. We got the middle pin pulled out there. Now we just got to take all these hydraulic fittings off and the one electrical fitting here. And then actually they go under here. I'll show you guys how this works. Pull this little pin back and then all this just swings right out here. And that's kind of the storage area there. So we got the swather side all pulled off, and then this gray one actually is on the header side, so we got to follow that one. It goes all the way over here. Then we just pull off these two hydraulic connections, and then we should be all unhooked. We got the swather side connections kind of tucked in here safely, and then we've got our header connections just kind of thrown over the top, pointing down. That way they don't get any water in them. But now we should be good just to back this thing up, make sure we're actually all unconnected. Then an issue we have sometimes is these guys don't actually come unhooked, so I'm gonna go grab some WD-40, spray that in there, and hopefully these guys come off. We grabbed the good old WD-40 and hammer, so it should come off now. We'll see what happens. Sweet, sweet freedom, we are unhooked. We are still gonna have to clean all that guy off though. That way it doesn't just get all kind of mushy and nasty over the winter when it snows on it. Good morning, everybody. It's Wednesday morning. The boss just got back from Arizona last night. He might have a little fun getting used to our weather again. It was about 32 this morning. That's why I'm in the shop right now, just kind of making sure our heater's working and everything like that. So yeah, it's kind of nice. The boss is back. I don't have to be doing everything by myself again. John Deere is all done disking. We're just letting it warm up right now before we take this thing back to the yard. And up we go. It's a little bit slow. The hydraulic oil is a little bit chilly, so it's not flowing super fast today. It still is only about 35 degrees out, so it takes a little while just to kind of get things moving. Well, we've got most of the stuff all back in the yard here. So we've got all kinds of things just lined up back here right now. This morning's plan, though, is to get this tire pulled off there. It's got a pretty slow little leak on it, so we're going to just pull them off, get them fixed sometime. Then we're going to get that case tractor unhooked and get the John Deere unhooked here. We're actually going to have to steam off that case too, so we can get some of the stuff fixed on that. Got a couple different oil leaks on it. Let's go get this good old brute all steamed off here. Actually, the boss man's over there doing a little bit of some spraying right now. It's just water. He's cleaning out the sprayer, and then he's going to blow it all out too. That way it doesn't freeze solid. Nothing worse than having a bunch of broken lines on your sprayer in the spring. The 9280 is all cleaned up. I'm a little bit dirty though. Kind of covered in hydraulic oil and a little dirt, a little grease, a little bit of everything. But we actually were just really trying to clean up sort of on the front here. We got an accessory drive kind of back in there. It's pretty tough to see, but it's starting to leak, so that's why we're cleaning that up. That makes it just a little bit easier to work on this winter when we got it in the shop, not just covered in a bunch of dirty oil and stuff. We always like to clean off the back here too, get all the hydraulic fittings all cleaned off, get all the gunk off of them too. So now we're ready to put it in storage and work on it a little bit this winter. Well, at that time of the year, we start kind of shoving things inside the shed here. We got the good old 806. We got the 9280 in here. We got the swather in here. We got the grain cleaner in here. And we got the John Deere 9510R in the back. We got a little tiny room to spare. right in the front here. That's actually where we're gonna put the grain vac when I go get that from my other uncle. So yeah, we got kind of a full shed right now. Another chilly morning out in Montana here, and we're working on the pivots a little more. What we're actually gonna be doing this morning is kind of splitting this top part, because when it's cold and then it gets warm in the day with all this metal, it'll actually shrink and then expand. So when it gets hot out, it'll try to kind of move the whole pivot out that way, and then when it gets cold again, it'll move it back this way. And once we get this pulled out, you'll kind of see what I'm talking about. Just up on the pivot here, you can see we've got our nice little standing area here. Got a nice little handhold too. That way when you're trying to reach way out there, you got something to kind of hold on to. But what we're doing is we're gonna pull all of these bolts out all the way around. And then there's actually kind of a little flange in there we'll take out too. And then we take each of these off. There's one on this side and then one on the other side. And that kind of lets this thing slide back and forth. We got all those little bolts out. Now we just got to pull these big ones out. Well, we got everything all pulled apart here, and you guys can probably see we got a pretty big gap in there now. So yeah, it's just from the metal expanding and contracting. So that's kind of why we like to work the ground. That way the tires aren't sitting down in those tracks. That way, if it does move a whole bunch in the winter, it doesn't actually break the pivot because it doesn't have anywhere to move if it's sitting in those deep tracks. Over at the south pivot now, we got to do the same thing to this one actually. But first we're pulling this pipe here off. It's kind of getting a little bit weak in this little cone here. So we're going to pull it off. We're going to take it to our pivot guys. They're going to redo it here. They actually have a bunch of these cones made up already. So they'll just chop it off here, put a new cone on it, and then we can put it all back on ourselves. But yeah, you got to just have this little cone exactly perfect, or else it kind of messes up the lining up of everything. There's some nice nasty winds we got out here again. But I did get this all tore apart here finally, so now I just got to get this big guy thrown in the back of the service pickup there. Should be kind of done on this pivot for now. It's about lunchtime too, so getting some pretty wild winds today. We're getting 40-50 mile an hour gusts, and the drop tubes on the pivot are just kind of blowing in the wind. We actually need to take this yellow hose off from the top there, which I was hoping I'd be able to stand on top of the service pickup to get it, but I don't think I am, and I don't think I'm gonna have a ladder up there today, so we're gonna have to wait till tomorrow to do that one. And then I got a bunch of little tiny hoses up on that one I gotta take off too, but it is pretty nasty out here. I did try to go up on there and about got blown off, so I think it's gonna be a tomorrow job type of thing. Good morning, everybody. It's supposed to actually start raining today. Actually, there's a little bit of sprinkle I can feel coming down, but not a whole lot yet. We'll see. We're supposed to maybe get some snow too, so hopefully we get some kind of moisture. But right now we're gonna go check on actually my cousin's daughter's purchase she got, and we gotta watch it for a week. So she got a little tiny miniature horse here. See, it's kind of a chunky little guy too. Good morning, buddy. How are you? How you doing? Yep, so we gotta watch this guy for a week. Then they're gonna come back with a horse trailer to pick him up. So they're actually over here just for the weekend doing a little bit of hunting. It's actually a youth hunting season for deer. Well, I don't think he likes being in his corral here. What do you think, little guy? Yeah. Not having fun, are you? So my cousin and his family are all here. It's his daughter's first year for hunting, so she's trying to find a big old buck to get. So we'll see what happens. I got a bunch of work to get done today, but if she gets something, I told him I'd help him drag it out. Another day down at the pivots. It's a little bit chilly out this morning. Always kind of fun working on metal when it's cold out in the morning. But we're gonna try to get everything drained just in case the wind does come up again today. Boss is on his way down. We're gonna get this clutch and the radiator pulled off of this engine this morning. Well, I hope the boss is gonna make it out of here. He's got a trailer He's got the little John Deere tractor on there with the radiator. It looks like he'll make it. I'm just kind of cleaning things up around here. I've got the top half of the pump in the back of the service pickup there. But we are looking a little bit like we're missing some stuff on here. So we got the radiator out. We got the top part of the pump pulled off too. So just a few things we're going to get rebuilt. And I guess we're going to actually take this clutch off a different day. So yeah, we got a lot of stuff that's going to need rebuilt here. Well, we got everything unloaded at the house, and now we're heading back out to the pivots to get that job done again. So hopefully try to get everything drained before it starts raining. It's kind of starting to sprinkle just a little tiny bit. And we're down on the south pivot, just finishing up its winterization. And this one really opened up once we pulled those bolts out. It's got a huge gap there. So we're just going to grab that gasket in there, and then we should be done out here.